All right, YouTube, what's going on? Thank you guys for checking out another video. This is something that I caught on Google News. Every now and then, I get a notification of a new article that has to do with business, entrepreneurship, personal development. I like to grow. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be the best version of myself while I'm on Earth. And so, it's a big deal to me to be educating myself and be, learning. This is something that I know about from a while ago because it's a topic that I care about, and that's building wealth. Okay. I had a conversation with a guy on Facebook who he kept going to this idea that he would rather have $1 million cash in the bank because he knows a lot of people who are millionaires on paper, but they cash broke. They don't really have that type of money like that. And that is the biggest difference when it comes to mindset and building wealth. And I'm going to explain, but this article here really does a good job of shedding light to it. I'm not sure if it's going to knock these people for it, but if it does, I'm telling you that this strategy is available to anyone. And the strategy is buy, borrow, die. Buy, borrow, die. People say you can't take it with you when you die. This is true, but if you sell it all, you give half of it to the government and your family's left with only half. Generational wealth. People who say you can't take it with you when you die, they don't care about building generational wealth. I do. And I'm telling you that this article is going to show you how you can have that million in the bank if you wanted to. I don't know why you would. And do that by paper wealth. That's the best wealth. And people don't understand that. So let's break this down. I'm gonna summarize this article a bit. We're gonna summarize this article just a tad bit. Look, banks say their wealth management clients are using security-based loans to fund their lifestyles. With a lot of their clients, they're borrowing more than double they were 5 years ago. It's pretty much what the first part of this article is saying, and that's because of interest rates, right? The loans that these guys are using, even guys who have startups, small businesses, the loans that they're using, they're doing it to avoid taxes. And this is why I always tell people, the rich and not even the rich, just the financial savvy people, they're going to figure out how to not pay taxes. What are you going to do? Start taxing people for loans that they take? So this professor, Edward McCaffrey, he said that ordinary people, they don't think about debt the way billionaires do. Why does it right away go to billionaires? Why does it right away go to billionaires? You realize there are people who are not billionaires that think this way. There are people who are on their way to becoming millionaires who have studied and have learned who think this way. The people who don't think this way, chances are they probably will not build wealth, and if they do, it's going to be very, very slow. It's going to be the way that society has taught us. The very people who create these schools that educate the masses have taught people to build wealth is when they're 60 and they're dead, and most of the way that they built their wealth is funding billionaire companies through ETFs, through stocks, through bonds, through things that billionaires utilize to build their business. That's how the middle class and the poor will eventually retire, by getting these 401ks that are packed with these investments that are funding billionaires. It's so funny how people don't talk about that. So borrowers benefit from tax savings because they don't pay income tax on their assets until they sell them. That's a capital gains tax. Borrowers benefit from tax savings because they don't pay income taxes on their assets until they sell them. This is why I don't need a 401k or an IRA myself. I'd rather have the control of my money, because if I ever do need money, I can just borrow against it. And it's very, very easy to do it these days in 2021, guys. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about in a little bit. Okay. But just the way this article is kind of making it seem like it's only for the rich. Look. So the article is pretty much saying, once you're already rich, it's just buy, borrow, and die. This is the same guy, Edward McCaffrey, explained this. That's the strategy. Once you're already rich, buy, borrow, and die. I don't know if that's a strategy once you're already rich. I think that should be the strategy as you're trying to become rich, because the more you're taxed, and working class people are taxed the most. The more you are taxed, the harder it's going to be to build wealth. So you should be using this strategy before you become wealthy. All right, let's continue. President Biden's plan to raise capital gains tax rates would affect the richest Americans more than other Americans. Does that make any sense? They're literally saying that people are buying, borrowing, and dying. They're just taking loans. They're not selling off anything. If you bring the capital gains tax up double, like I believe that's what Biden's plan is, or a lot, people are going to sell even less. So it says here, it's pretty much they're saying that actually his changes to taxes would make borrowing less attractive, and couldn't advance through it, but it couldn't advance through Congress. Who's affected by that? Changes to the tax laws that would make borrowing less attractive. We gotta think about that. Who's that really affecting? Like, if you have all the assets and you can't borrow against them, then you're just gonna live off your cash flow. You're rich. You know, if you're trying to get to the next level, if you're trying to come up from live the American dream, you gotta borrow. It's tough. I feel like all of this is much more complicated. You know, it's tough. It's a tough job being president. Boy, there's like a big emphasis on these death taxes, making loan proceeds taxable. So on top of interest rates, you know, that could be sky high. You got to be careful if you're going to take these loans, because they're going to make the loans taxable too, the proceeds. Yeah, it might stop this loophole where rich people are just borrowing instead of taking capital gains taxes and selling, but it's going to hurt middle class and poor people who are trying to get business loans, who are using loans to get up, you know. Damn. And then this whole capital gains tax at death, I just 100% do not agree with that at all. So this is true. Like, security-based loans, they face less complicated lending than mortgages or auto loans, right? Like, there's less red tape, and the debt, it doesn't show up on credit reports. But that's why the interest rates are typically higher. They're just not 30-40%. You know what I mean? Typically, you're better off going with those conventional loans through banks, because you're going to get lower interest rates. But sometimes it's not worth it, because if they're not available, then you're going to go through something that's much simpler. And if the risk is only on your business and not on your own personal credit, and it's going to be cheaper than paying taxes if you sell something, people are going to go that route. So check this out. And again, they're trying to make this about rich people. So Goldman Sachs Group offers securities-based loans to clients of its exclusive private bank, and Merrill Lynch advertises an interest rate of 3.2% for their exclusive private bank to these exclusive clients that we don't have access to a 3.2% interest rate that's backed off of somebody's securities, which is like their portfolio, their stocks, their real estate, so on and so forth. Like, look at this again. Continuing, like, I don't know what is this thing against these people, man. Several executives, directors, and companies have pledged their stock as loan collateral, including Elon Musk and John Malone. I'm okay with him doing that. Me, as nowhere near as wealthy as this guy, I'm okay with him doing that if that means he can help with these issues that we're having with carbon foot trace and trying to get to electric vehicles, because he needs this money I mean, the guy lives in a $50,000 house. He lives in a $50,000 like small shack or something like that. It's not like he's out here buying private jets and private yachts. He's trying to get people to space. I mean, and even if he wanted to, he deserves to for everything that he's done for society. Not everybody's perfect, but I like the idea of being able to fulfill 1 million electric vehicles and taking a loan that's backed by stocks. I'm okay with that. Like what should he do? Go ask the government for the money? You know, and then they go on to show like examples of people who have done these loans to fund their personal thing or charitable things. And it's like, why does an entrepreneur work so hard? Why does he risk everything to one day, be able to do what they want to do? They should be able to do whatever the hell they want to do. But look, the way that they were making this article as if this is only available to the super rich and all this stuff. Guys, I could show you on M1, which is a trading platform. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Take a look at this. And I've done this before. Instead of selling my stocks and taking a capital gains tax hit, I come here and literally with the click of a button, I can borrow up to 35% of my portfolio. So if I have 100 grand in my portfolio, I can borrow 35% of it. I could borrow $35,000 at 2%. At 2% interest. And I think the first 5,000 is free. And remember, like the way that they were making this article about the Merrill Lynch program as if it was like only for the uber rich is just misleading, and it's just an attack on a specific group of people instead of educating people that you can do it too. You can think like a billionaire even if you're not. You can. Look, let me show you guys. This is the website. So I actually used this before. 35% of your portfolio, rates as low as 2%, and mine was at 2% right away. Pay back whenever you want to. Pay back whenever you want to. And they're even showing you need it for a business venture. You need it for, for a HELOC, pay down a HELOC. If that 2% is going to be cheaper than 5% you're paying a HELOC, or a car loan or student loans that you're paying 5%, 6% on, why not? Now, there's more risk to it. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your due diligence. You got a business opportunity. You can leverage your portfolio. Like, there's people that don't have an emergency fund because they have access to capital, because they have a portfolio, they have assets. You don't got to be a super rich billionaire to have access to these things. I mean, if you have a small business, you could typically do it pretty quickly as well. Those are like, for example, Stripe gives loans, Square gives loans. Those are typically going to be higher. Those are like 10, 12% interest. But these 2% interest loans, and you can get these loans by investing in stocks, something that every American should be doing. Why aren't they making articles about this? You know what I mean? Why are they misleading and making it seem like you can't think like a billionaire too and do exactly what billionaires are doing? I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've borrowed from Robinhood. And I think Robinhood's like 1.5% or 2% as well, or maybe it's 2.5%. I think if you're a member, it's even lower. So with like M1, if you're a member, I think I was getting like 1.5% or something like that. And that, to me, that would be the smart thing to do, because you don't pay the crazy taxes that these people want you to pay. You keep your money working for you, and you shouldn't be taking the money out for stupid, frivolous things. You shouldn't be borrowing against it for stupid, frivolous things. But this is a great way that any person can build wealth, and it's available to everyone. If billionaires are doing it, you should probably be looking into it. Guys, billionaires don't look at debt as a bad thing, like people like Dave Ramsey, who built their wealth off of businesses, not off of saving every little penny. They built their business off of investments and assets, and they have debt too. I mean, he says he doesn't have debt, but he didn't make millions of dollars and become the successful person because he saved all his money and he didn't get into debt. He did it because of these businesses that were doing great for him and offering him a high income. Anybody can save money and pay off debts, that way, and become wealthy that way. But the majority of wealthy people do not look at debt the same way that the poor middle class does. You know, it's whatever makes financial sense. It's not that difficult, right? But we're scared in society. We're scared of certain things, and we're feared of certain things. And all it really is to control us, because the smartest people are the ones who are in the top 5%, not the ones who were born with money or who lucked out. You know, like some of them obviously lucked out, but if these guys don't know how to manage their money, or during times of high inflation, during times of high taxes, if they don't know how to manage their money, they're going to lose it anyways. You got to know how to manage your money. So this strategy, buy, borrow, die, it's available to everyone. And the reason why it is buy is because it's buy assets, buy its own businesses. And you can start a businesses for little to no money in 2021. It's buy assets, buy stocks every week, every month. You should be reinvesting. You should be taking a portion of your money and putting it into stocks, putting it into some type of investment. Real estate, go buy some real estate. So business, stocks, real estate, assets, okay? And then when you need money, you don't go sell it unless that taxable, you're going to be taxed at a lower rate than it would cost you to borrow it, okay? Different times, you know, times change, laws change, and there are times where it makes more sense to pay taxes on it. There are times where it makes more sense to borrow it. I'll give you an example. When you go to sell your personal home, if you've lived in it for 2 out of the last 5 years, and check this, don't go by my word, do your due diligence. If you lived in it for 2 out of the last 5 years, there's no capital gains tax when you go to sell it. So then it would make sense. If you wanted to sell your home to go buy a new one, then it would make sense to sell it instead of borrow against it. Okay. If you didn't want to sell it, you can still borrow against it if you need the money because you want to buy something else, right? You got stocks. Okay. I don't know a time where, I mean, sure, if you're making like $10,000 a year, you should just sell the stocks. But if you're making, you know, a decent amount of money because you're smart with your money and you've worked hard to make more money over the years, then yeah, it makes more sense to take a 2% loan and borrow against your stocks than to sell it, and then you don't own the stock anymore, so it's not growing anymore. You're losing that you're losing the compound interest on it. It just doesn't make sense to do it and pay whatever the capital gains rate is at that moment in time for yourself. So that's the borrowing. And then die. You know, you don't sell everything before you die and then give your kids money and stuff, because it gets taxed at the highest rate possible, right? You die and then it's given, and then it's not taxed because there was no capital gains. And that's one of the things that Biden's trying to change to avoid that. People, they buy assets to build generational wealth. They borrow against it when they need money, if it makes sense, and then they die. It's not like they didn't live a great lifestyle through that time, but they die with all their assets, with all the things that they bought, because they don't want the government to take half. They want it to go to their kids and their kids' and their kids' kids. That's generational wealth. We're not taught that though. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I really love that article because it definitely sparked a conversation within myself to have with you guys. That doesn't even make sense, but yeah, this is what we do on this channel, guys. The life of Basio, stuff that I be reading and stuff, and just insights that I wanted to share with you guys, along with some vlogging, a little bit of vlogging. All right, guys, I'm out of here. See you guys on the next video. Make sure you subscribe, man.